Hey folks! Welcome back to Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. We're here in Majula, because it is time to finally take a different spoke off of this central hub here. Spent the last couple episodes over at the Forest of Fallen Giants over there. You can see the fort, you can see the huge statue. That's where we've been. Today, we are taking another path off to a location I did show off briefly. I took a peek at it back when we were here before. It's a sunken city over that away, elsewhere on the coast. So, this sunken city that we're going to, there's nothing stopping you from going here immediately when you get to Majula. Forest of Fallen Giants does not have to be your first location that you go to. The game kind of expects you to go to the forest first. The enemies here deal more damage, and are more heavily armored. But, you can go here first if you want, and I often do. Miscreant. Charmer. Ally or tough enemy. So, this room may look suspicious. There's a contraption here in the middle that doesn't move. And a window over here with an item beyond it that we cannot grab. Suspicious. Very suspicious. Can't do anything about it now, though. So let's get going. So down these stairs, keep an eye on your left, because there's a chest hidden in an alcove, very dark colored in this dank cavern. It's a Crimson Parma. It's the Crimson Parma. It's another 75 physical reduction shield. The fancy name and nifty paint are surely a merchant's efforts to make this very ordinary shield more attractive. And it is attractive. Something external appearances does not accurately represent internal reality and identity. Something like that. So, first time I played, and I know I'm not alone in this, I could not for the life of me see this handle. I was super thin, kind of blends into the wall. The lighting in the Scholar of the First Sin edition helps to make it easier to see, but a lot of people cannot find that thing worth a damn, myself included. But pull it, and you can get through. It stays open for quite a while, but not forever. So this waterway, it's a little weird. We got this central area that just has nothing. There's nothing in this room. Once we go into here, there's an item. 2 items, in fact. But I don't know what that central room is doing there. Yeah. Anyway, looks like this person was a thief. They had a broken thief sword. Not much to see on the sword, by the way. I guess they died here somehow. Maybe they couldn't find the handle. And you know what? I'm eating my words. This is what's here. It's the handle to go back. If you like. Not that you ever need to. Just because you can warp. Yeah, that's the only reason I can think of for the thief to have died here. Whoa, look at all these. There's something dangerous up ahead. All right, welcome. to Heide's Tower of Flame. So Heide's Tower of Flame. I have a lot of things to say about Heide's Tower of Flame, even though it's a very short area. What I really want to point out is that it's freaking gorgeous. That's what it is. It's freaking gorgeous. I spent a lot of time looking at the water in the forest. This is like rainbow water. It's so good. It's so good. It looks so good. I love it. And you've got those almost silhouettes of buildings over there, punctuated by little breaks of light in the windows. You've got inaccessible platforms over there, just eroded by time and water. I say inaccessible. I think those bloodstains and messages are like cheaters or hackers, because there's no way to jump that far. It's a gorgeous area. So much detail in the visuals of it. But there's plenty of stuff to complain about too. Like these bird statues. I have no idea what's up with these bird statues. Was Heide a bird? Did Heide worship a bird? I don't know. We just don't know. For a long time, people speculated that this was actually the sunken ruins of Anne Orlando from the first game. And there's similar architecture, and there's one encounter later on in the area that could lend credence to that theory, but it's not. Dark Souls 3 tells us that it's not. So, it's not. Too bad. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with kind of this weird, isolated, almost forgotten city that we don't know much about. Its history has kind of been lost. We have signifiers without signified here. I mean, there's always going to be a signified, but anyway, these guys. We've got a little white knight who appears to have suffered quite a few wounds. I think those are arrows sticking out of your neck, friend. Or your face. The Heide Knights here. They serve different purposes in Dark Souls 1, or Dark Souls 2 Original versus Dark Souls 2 Scholar. In the original, they were scattered all around Drangleic, and they kind of served the same role as Black Knights in Dark Souls 1. In that you would fight them. They were generally more dangerous than the enemies around them. There was one actually in that big circular room in the forest where we had a bunch of people playing dead. There was one of these guys was there in the original release. You'd fight them, you'd get a special weapon for beating them usually. But here in Scholar, they've all been relocated. They all are back into the actual Heide's area, which tells a very different story, I feel like. In the original, I got the impression that they were wanderers, distanced from home. Maybe they lost their home, their connection to home, but they were still carrying it with them in a certain way because they were still armored like that. Maybe they were searching for something. I don't really know. I need to read their weapon descriptions. In Scholar, they seem to be going down with the city. They seem to be so devoted that they're just kind of waiting here, waiting for the city to be completely swallowed up by the waves. Very different story. They are non-aggressive, usually. There's, I think, two knights. There's two Heide Knights in that section of the level that I'm looking at right now. They are aggressive. Don't go there right now. This knight and that knight over there, they're not going to hurt you unless you hurt them. And they're not doing anything wrong. So let's just leave them. They do drop weapons with native lightning infusion, so if you're a faith-based character, that could be a good investment. You might want to kill them until they drop those for you. The other enemies in this area are the old knights here. They're gigantic, but they're not proper giants. They're heavily armored, so strike weapons are great against them. And that's actually why I often come here first when I play as a cleric, which I usually do. Because clerics start with a mace. And they can just crunch them. Absolutely crunch them. And you'll notice that they dropped 400 souls for one knight, for one enemy. That's way better soul yield than the enemies in the forest. So coming here for some easy souls early on so I can level up my adaptability. So that's usually how I play the game, honestly. And once you get their patterns down, the old knights really aren't too difficult. They have very, very obvious tells. You can see it's like, yep, I'm raising up. Really, the only question is when exactly they're going to swing. And they do have very wide swings, so if you don't know exactly how far they swing, that could be an issue. But overall, I found them very, very easy to dodge. They fall into that same Dark Souls 2 archetype of big dudes in armor with a large weapon. And since I've played Dark Souls 2 so much, I'm used to that archetype. I know how they work, and I can defeat them pretty easily in all their variations. Old Knight Gauntlets. I bet those are heavy as heck. Oh yeah. How old could these nearly crumbling gauntlets be? Extremely low durability. Sometimes, just as a thing falls to pieces, it unleashes its last flash of great power. So yeah, all of the old knight set, their weapons, their armor, very low durability. They cannot take much damage. So 20 compared to 60 or 50. Imported Manichete is actually not very durable either. But yeah, they're falling apart, basically. Defeating that knight there caused this lever to rise from the ground. Is the platform even big enough for that to make sense? Yeah, I guess it is. Slightly, just enough. Forgot to grab these items. Whoops, sorry. Nothing too exciting. But yeah, this is something that Heide does that feels a little gamey, as people have put it. It feels like a mechanic introduced to be a game mechanic rather than as a fully integrated part of a thoroughly constructed world. Defeat an enemy to create a lever, pull the lever to raise up a platform that makes the boss arena bigger. What crazy architect decided, hey, let's have concentric rings in this tower that are raised up by levers in different buildings? Multiple levers in multiple different buildings. It's nonsense. It's nonsense, I tell you. Absolute nonsense. Yeah, it's gamey. it's weird. But it also gives you incentive to actually defeat all the enemies so that you can raise those up and have a bigger arena to fight the boss with. Alright, so we've encountered 3 old knights individually so far, with different weapons. Here, we have 3 in the same room, but there's a little bit of a trick. Aggro the one in the middle. The other 2 will notice us, but they won't actually attack us until we defeat this one. They're very nice like that. However, then they will attack us both. They'll both attack us at the same time. And this is where you gotta kind of be careful. You got to figure out when is it actually safe for me to attack, because you got 2 enemies to deal with. They deal a fair amount of damage, and you don't want to attack at the end of one combo, if one is done comboing, and the other is just right on your tail. It looks like, however, that guy just kind of went back to his post. Not sure what's up with that. But good to know, I guess. You can reduce it to 1 aggro. One thing I would recommend against doing, and that I often do a lot anyway, is kind of luring him out onto this narrow passageway, because then you don't have any room side to side to dodge. If you're lucky, you can get them to walk off the edge or swing themselves off the edge, but more often than not, and it is a bottleneck, so generally you'll have one in front, actually, in danger zone. But it reduces your dodging ability so much, and if you're not careful, you'll back off the edge and fall off a cliff, and that's no fun. You don't want that. So I'd recommend, even though it's harder to keep both of them on the same on screen at the same time, try to keep them in the arena here. You got a lot more space to work with. Hey, come on over, bud. Alright, so we come at a crossroads here. We've got the big open passageway. Nice and inviting blue sky. Have I pointed out how good the skybox is in this area? Oh, it's so good. Look at that. So good. And then you have the narrow passageway. A little more foreboding. It's got the cathedral. It's got the drawbridge. And, as I believe I pointed out, it's got a slumbering red thing. That thing's dangerous. Don't go this way. And as I said before, Heide Knights, there are 2 Heide Knights on this path. They will both, well, they won't aggro simultaneously, but they will stand up and attack you. There's one sitting right there. There's one sitting right there. And there's an old knight over there. If you walk through that doorway, the old knight and the first Heide Knight will both aggro on you at once. It's a dangerous path. And that's before you get to the slumbering red thing. Come back here later. Seriously, just come back here later. I considered going the dangerous path, being a rebel, and being like, oh man, look at me, I'm so cool, I'm going the dangerous path. I'm going to fight a late game, well, not late game, a boss you're supposed to fight later. I'm going to fight it early. But then I was like, no, that's a terrible idea. I'm not good enough at the game for that. I don't know what that means. It's got one more old knight over here. Let's take care of him. So these old knights are probably the clearest example of dodging through enemy attacks. You know, when they swing horizontally, you can just whoop, and swing through their attack, even though it doesn't make physical sense. It's a good thing to learn. Anyway, now is a good time for me to complain about the overall level design in this area, in that it's really boring. I'm going to run back to make a point, back to the beginning. You'll remember in Forest of Fallen Giants, there was kind of one central bonfire at the Cardinal Tower, and then a bunch of paths that all looped back to it. You went down the stairs, and then out, and you blew up a wall, and you could get back to it. There's a path upwards from it. Then you go down the ladder once you've opened up the shortcut by the boss, and you go straight to the boss. It's very efficient. All the paths loop back onto the same hub. And the That style with Forest of Fallen Giants is kind of what people will point to great Dark Souls level design as, and it's what Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 really focus on. Heide's is kind of opposite, and it's what people point to in Dark Souls 2 to be like Dark Souls 2 has bad level design. And it's the most unabashedly clear example. You start by walking in a straight line. You come to a circular arena where you fight a dude. You proceed up some stairs, and you fight a dude. You go up some stairs, and you fight a dude. Then you walk in a straight line into a circular arena where you fight 3 dudes. Then you go in this straight line. You can fight this dude if you want. Go down the stairs to a circular arena where you fight a dude. Then you go through a boss door into a circular arena where you fight a dude. There's no looping back, there's no interconnectivities, there's no shortcuts, there's no hidden items or passageways. I'm pretty sure I forgot to activate the second lever, so I'm going to do that right now. Far too many areas in Dark Souls 2, for many people's liking, follow the same formula. It just feels like a series of encounters rather than a fully realized area. And Heide's is just really obvious about it. It's not like it's the only one that does it. And it's not like other games in the Dark Souls series don't have linear areas. It's just super, super obvious about it. So, we've got a boss through there. Before we do that, I do want to fight one Heide Knight, because this one is guarding a chest that I want to open. Now be careful here. You can walk across this, but you really don't want to fight this knight on this small platform. That's a terrible idea. And yeah, unfortunately we cannot open this chest without aggroing that dude. Can we target him? Yes, we can. So Heide Knights, much like the old knights and the old ironclads, are heavily armored, so strike weapons are great. And I believe, I think this is correct, a two-handed heavy attack from a strike weapon, if you are wearing the stone ring, will stun the Heide Knight. So if you want to cheese these guys like I am, get a strike weapon, two-hand it, wear the stone ring, and do a heavy attack. And I believe it should be no problem. That said, Heide Knights are still dangerous. Unlike most of the enemies we've seen thus far, they have very, very little wind-up to their attacks. They'll just... and bam, you've lost a third of your health. Or more. They're very fast. And they do have some very hard-to-read combos, so be careful. There's no shame in dying, like all these people did. The poor saps. Anyway, in this chest is a very, very useful item. The Ring of Binding. And this gets into a mechanic that I have not shown off yet, and I've been going out of my way not to show off. But I gotta talk about it, so I'll talk about it. The Ring of Binding limits HP reduction when hollow. An unusual ring of unknown origin. Alas, this ring will not make you human. What is lost is not easily retrieved. So this is a change from Dark Souls 1 that kind of makes the game more in line with Demon Souls. In that, in Demon Souls, when you died in human form, you got reduced to 50% HP, and you were like a spirit. Dark Souls 1 did away with that. They had hollowing of a certain sort, and you could turn human, but didn't affect your health unless you got cursed. Here, we kind of go back to Demon Souls-ish style. It's a little more forgiving, but at the same time more heartbreaking. Every time you die, you lose 5% of your health bar, up to losing 50%. And dying over and over and over and losing a little bit of your health each time is really demoralizing. The Ring of Binding, if you wear it, your HP will be reduced by less percent each time you die, and it's capped at 75% of your health bar rather than 50. So if you die a lot in this game, the Ring of Binding is very useful to have. I have been using a save manager to just restart whenever I died, so I've remained human the whole time. But I still think eventually I will have to worry about hollowing, because, as I alluded to briefly during the Pursuer fight, the curse condition still exists. And if you are cursed, that is the equivalent of dying once, and you lose 5% of your health bar. And the Ring of Binding will help mitigate that. But I like having the human face, because as you hollow, you get more and more green, and your flesh starts rotting, and your hair starts falling out. It's very gross. We'll have to worry about it at some point, but not today. Because today, we have a boss fight in front of us. It's a very easy boss fight, but I'm going to summon for it nonetheless, just so that we can show off Masterless Glencore. Or Glencower. I don't know. I think this is a human, right? Yeah, that's a real person. Glencower. He's wearing the Hollow Soldier helm, actually. It's a little funky. He's got a real mishmash of different outfits, but he looks pretty cool. And he can help us. Against the Dragon Rider. A big dude in armor with a large weapon. So, honestly, this guy is super easy. He's so easy. Pursuer is hard. This guy is easy. His tells are super obvious. Doesn't do that much damage. He's so easy. And again, I love to come here as a cleric early on. He is heavily armored, so the mace does a lot of damage. And you can just come here, wail on him for a little bit. Can't believe I actually got hit by this guy. That is shameful. And for defeating him, guess how many souls you get? 9,000. That's better than the last giant. It's easier to get to him, and he's an easier boss. Early on in the game, you can run here, defeat this guy, and it's a great source of souls. Basically, whenever I play, I run over here, I beat him, and then I level up my adaptability. Alright, so now we can climb the Tower of Flame a little bit. Not that much, but... oh, that's nice. We get a bonfire, and we get an NPC.
Are you from these parts? My name is Lycia. I have come to spread the art of miracles, a practice of which I am a disciple. I can see that you are well suited to comprehend their wondrous power. But the cost of it, that's for your heart to decide.
So Lycia is a miracles merchant. She sells a chime, sells a ring to increase faith, and a bunch of miracles, including healing miracles and lightning spear. If you're a faith character, again, a cleric, come in here early, grabbing some spells from her, not a bad idea. And if you start as a cleric, you can wail on all the enemies here pretty easily. So it's almost like they designed the game so that clerics could easily get here to the cleric merchant. Funny how that works. I guess I should look at the item descriptions for those, just since I'm not going to use them probably. Nothing much there. Miracles are tales of the gods passed down from long ago, but only a small number of the original tomes remained in their entirety, and most that exist are restorations. Erudite Great Heal tome requires extensive training to properly interpret, making it accessible only to a select few. This miracle is used by the resolute Lindelt cleric knights when fighting on the front lines. That's the same country that the Ring of Restoration is from. There's a story passed down through generations claiming this band of knights once felled a poisonous dragon which menaced an entire nation. Man, poisonous dragon, that sounds metal. Cleric Forsal, I don't know, of Lindelt was a master of miracles who fought battles across the lands. His allies called him a holy knight, but his enemies feared him for his demonic powers. The spell was recently developed and may not be an authentic miracle. So yeah, we had the little bit about miracles being very, 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 very old. So, does this actually count as a miracle? Nothing really lore there. Said to be the legacy of an ancient clan whose leader was revered as the god of sun. The name of the clan has been lost to time, but the gross incandescence of our magnificent father shall never wane. That's a very direct connection to Solaire and the Sun Bros from Dark Souls 1. The curse slowly erodes one's memory, till even one's birthplace is reduced to a figment of a clouded past. But the bonfires are constant, a beacon for the tragically afflicted. Important plot point there that you will get elsewhere. The curse erodes one's memory, like I've been saying since the prologue. You'll lose your memory. You'll come to the castle's decrepit gates and not really know what you're doing there. You'll lose your memory of your family, your loved ones. That is a thing about the curse. That is an important plot point. Remember it. Yeah. So I guess the way the miracle is done, homeward, traditionally it was for the caster's homeland, but when undead use it, since they kind of forget their homeland, it returns them to the bonfires, which is their surrogate homes, which is a little sad. Countless worlds loosely overlap, and at the seams of contact, kindred souls who have lost their way call out to one another with fleeting messages of hope. Yeah, that's the one that makes more messages appear. It's cool.
I'd heard awful rumors about this place, and I'm afraid they were all true. The king, gone. The earth, ravaged. The burden on the people weighs heavy. I fear that, by now, they may have scarce room in their hearts for miracles. Why did I come here? Well... do I need any other reason than to spread the gospel of miracles? My preceptor always said this art should be shared with the world. And such is my only wish. Sometimes I fight the urge to pack up and go back home. It is... well... I must do this. And being out here all alone only makes this a more fitting test of my fortitude. I expected this cathedral to be bustling, but there's hardly a soul to be found here. Without any goings-on, I'll have to move soon. To a place I could help the gullible by teaching the good word.
Seemed legit.
No need for miracles. The gods frown upon such soul scrimpers.
Alright, so once we've gotten her to talk about moving up and helping Gull the Innocent, she will relocate to an area very close to Majula. Technically part of Majula. Yeah. Speaking of which, let's head back. Alright, so, real quick, let's show where she has moved to. It's actually back down here. She is the one who manages the contraption.
Oh, hello there. An honor to see you again. This room is not as it seems. There are two, not one pathways leading out. And only this lovely thing reveals the other path. And this, you lovely thing, only runs on miracles. Shall I provide you with one?
So you can buy items. Seems to have the same stock as before. You can move the path. You can spend some souls to have her move the path to that other way. And we can talk some more.
To cast miracles, you must have strong faith in the gods. Miracles began as tales told by gods. We preserve their will with law, pray to their greatness, and are blessed in return. You must nourish your faith. Miracles have been passed down through us since the first flame. Isn't it extraordinary to think they've existed since the very origins of the world? And now, you can have this power for yourself. Don't miss out on the road to enlightenment.
You sound like a used car salesman.
What is the first flame? Well, it's... You're not ready to comprehend it, I'm afraid.
Rude.
You require more faith and more miracles, many more miracles. To cast miracles, you must.
So yeah, here we've got Lycia, who presents a different self from her true self. She tries to make herself seem like, yes, I am a great person who spreads the good word and gives miracles and helps people reach enlightenment. And you can reach enlightenment too for only 5 easy payments of $19.99. She is a con artist, basically. And not a very good one. Anyway, we could spend some souls here to move the path now. We don't need that path anymore because we can just warp to Heide's whenever we want. I'm not going to do it right now just because in video making terms, I feel like it makes more sense.
The gods frown.
I feel like it makes more sense to activate the path when I'm actually taking it. Just be like, hey, in this episode, we're going on this other path. First thing you got to do is activate it, rather than, hey, we're going on this other path I activated 5 episodes ago. So we'll go back. We'll go back. Anyway, it's been a while since we checked in with Malin the Armorer. How's he doing?
Oh, I was hoping that you would come. I've stocked some new things, and I thought that you might be interested. They've been selling rather well, and I may step up operations soon. I'm surprising even myself, to be honest.
So yeah, once you buy, I think, 1,000 souls worth of materials from him, he will upgrade his stock and he will get some new dialogue.
Did I mention before that, well, I'm not from these parts? I was on a journey and somehow ended up here. The desolation here was disenchanting at first, but over time, things started to turn my way. Yeah, I've got a good few regulars now. They're all strangely desperate and quite willing to pay a premium. Sadly, some of them never come back, but I try not to think about it. Have you seen that warrior lugging that giant blue sword about?
I haven't.
I'm no expert, but that appears to be a fine specimen. The monstrous thing has a peculiar design, quite unlike anything found in Vulcan. If you should speak to him, would you ask him if he won't sell it? I'd have to take another look, but I'm confident I could offer quite a price.
So we haven't met that NPC yet, but we will in due time.
I considered returning to my homeland, but I've decided to stay a while longer. I've started to turn a handsome profit now, and I can't bear to give it up.
He seems to be getting more confident.
I've started to turn a hand.
Alright. So I don't know if that's more shields, but he's definitely got more armors. He's got the Elite Knight set, which is pretty cool looking set. I believe it's the box art set. Helmet made of Brad steel, all-time favorite of Elite Knights. Brad and steel is used widely in Drangleic. Fine alloys made from ores mined in the Southern Kingdom. Yeah, it's pretty decent armor. We've got the Royal Soldier set. It's I believe all of this can drop from the soldiers themselves, but if you want them, here they are. Same with the infantry set. Yeah. I'm in desperate need of a better top, basically. Let's see how this looks. Again, you do want to spend money here to upgrade his stocks and get him further along in his quest line. He might get more inventory later. I feel like he will after certain bosses, maybe.
Thanks very much. Do come again.
Alright, let's see what we can do. Oh, it's so heavy. It's so heavy. Is it heavy as Drangleic? It's not as heavy as Drangleic set. Oh, but it looks so cool. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, that's lighter. I don't think even removing my hat entirely would help. I want to carry all these weapons, though. I think it's time for me to upgrade my vigor a bit. God, how freaking cool is that? Look, it's so good.
Bearer of the curse. Less.
Not vigor, vitality, sorry. Okay. Upgrade it 3 there. How does that make my equip burden look? Not quite there. I'm gonna pop some souls. This is important to me, okay? Let's pop a big one. Oh yeah, that'll get me plenty.
Bearer of the
Alright, let's... Is that gonna do it? Yeah, alright, we're back to a regular roll. Good. I'm feeling a lot better. The hat doesn't totally match, but I'm not willing to get rid of it. And then, let's check in with Lenegrast.
I knew you'd be around soon. Go on, show me what you've got.
And grab some bolts.
I'll be around if you make it back.
Alright. Pretty sure this episode ran long again, but I wouldn't want to make an episode of just talking to people and buying stuff and playing Fashion Souls. Alright. So, we made it through Heide's Tower of Flame, other than the side path that we're not going on quite yet. And next time we will continue on further along that path and see where it takes us. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.